Hey folks, thanks for joining us on Political Blowback. My name is Steve Kostick. First of all, I'd like to apologize to the people who have subscribed to my channel, which I am very grateful that you did that. It's been a little while since I've posted anything, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I've been very, very busy with doing renovations outside the house, and it's an extremely busy time of year. So, it's a little frustrating realizing that, I should be putting out a video or two each week, and for the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been reduced to nothing. I'm a little bit without remorse over not posting. And if you'll allow me to share the reasons why. As a new YouTuber, I was really enthusiastic about doing something that I'm very passionate about, and that is political commentary and opinion. I went out and bought myself a pretty snazzy camera to do this. And, I really thought that this would be a very, very fun thing to do. I was proven correct initially, because I started to see that within the first 10 videos, my audience and my viewership was increasing to 750 and 1,600 people, and it just seemed like it was starting to really, really grow. And then something really interesting happened. All of a sudden, my viewership went from 1,600 people right down to like about 27 people. And I'm not sure if they're thinking that I have a dollar sign on my forehead, but, I sort of gave that some rational thought and said, wait a second here. Why is this all of a sudden going from 1,600 people down to 27 people? I must be horrible. I don't think it's so much that I'm horrible, but I'm going to tell you something. YouTube has something called an algorithm. And they monitor things like comments and the number of likes and the number of dislikes. And it appeared to me that when I looked at, the last very good video that I did in terms of performance, there were a lot of, shall we say, Trumpers or MAGA heads who seemed to sort of converge on my page and on that video that did exceptionally well for a starter, right? And all of a sudden, I'm getting like personal slurs from these MAGA heads. And derogatory, extremely derogatory comments, and comments that did not make any sense. People were saying things about things that I said in the video, and if they had really carefully listened to the video, they would understand that they just contradicted themselves. I think YouTube really has to, if they want their news and commentary contributions to grow outside of the people who have already started, I think what they need to do is they need to rethink their algorithm a little bit, because MAGA heads are not objecting to my video presentation as such, that it was poorly done. I mean, I had put some very factual presentation into and news articles, and I had referenced them, and and I get some turkey that would say, well, yeah, I don't like your shirt. Well, yeah, that's because you're a MAGA head. Right? Because real people, people who maybe even they are on the right wing side of things, but they're real. They're not caught up in this MAGA baloney. They're not going to make comments like that. Those people are a lot more savvy. So in my humble opinion, if YouTube wants to grow their political commentary thing, they have to understand that they can't run their algorithm like it's a camping video or a video on how to change out a carburetor. Political commentary, I think YouTube needs to understand that it's a politically charged environment, and America, especially right now, they're beyond politically charged. I mean, just by having a differing opinion than a MAGA head, you are leaving yourself wide open to all kinds of political animosity and disparagement and insults, and this is what MAGA has become. It's a cult. It's not a political thing anymore. It's just a cult. Now, moving beyond that, I'm like all of us, I'm taking in this situation with the Jeffrey Epstein files, and I've heard a lot of comments coming from different places. I heard Michael Cohen talking about it just a few moments ago, and I heard Jake Tapper talking about it, and you have Michael Cohen who is coming out and he is saying, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that are growing out of this, and he sort of presented that as though this is some sort of a point of concern. First of all, I want to sort of counter what Michael Cohen has said with this, and I'm not discounting entirely what he has said. I think there's a component of that, but let's be honest here. The entire Trump MAGA land fiasco was actually built on a conspiracy theory. They had everybody starting to believe that COVID was just a giant convergence of medical professionals and governments around the world and people dying, as though that was something that everybody sort of huddled on and got everybody to agree on, and they're trying to sell it to people. And quite frankly, I think that anyone who believes that, I think you're insulting perhaps your own intelligence, because that would be almost next to impossible to pull off. So MAGA head has these conspiracies. Donald Trump came out and said, well, I'm going to drain the swamp, baby, and the whole thing is just a hoax. Everything that you've ever heard is a hoax unless I tell you it's not a hoax. I'm the arbiter of hoax. I tell you when it's a hoax, and boy, oh boy, do I tell you it very often that it's a hoax. And so for Michael Cohen to come out and say, I'm concerned, he didn't quite say it in these words, but I'm concerned that these conspiracy theories are arising out of the Jeffrey Epstein thing. I think that, it's almost like a little bit of a double standard. Why are there these conspiracy theories that are coming out about the Epstein situation and Trump? In my humble opinion, it boils down to this. The Republican Party and Donald Trump have been completely out of touch with the people, and they have, they are not sensitive to the idea that the people have had quite enough of hearing things like it's a hoax, and Donald Trump even came out and said this week, he said, well, to his supporters, he called them stupid. In my vested opinion, I I think that that's probably the first time he's been right in 10 years of politics. Because, and I have no aversion to saying that, because when I see the way these MAGA heads carry on, and they're going to get in my comment section, they're going to say, yeah, I don't like your shirt. You know, too bad. You know, your opinion, when you start saying things like that, okay, it does not matter. And that's why, that's one of the reasons, not every reason, but that's one of the reasons why when Trump calls his own supporters stupid, I go, yep. That's for the first time ever in 10 years I agreed with something that you said. Now, I have to ask myself the question, and perhaps the community should ask themselves the question as well. Why is it that Trump cannot simply turn to his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who, by the way, said that she had the client list on her desk at one point, and she said that publicly, and now we find out she's saying, oh, there's no client list. Boy, oh boy, that's beyond dramatic. There's something not quite right. And I'm not saying I know what it is, but that is really an alarm bell. And it's a big one. Because you can't say to people on one hand that the client list, the Epstein client list, is on my desk, and then turn around when the public pressure builds to release that client list to deny that it exists. Okay? So if MAGA actually believes that, maybe that's supporting documentation that Trump was right when he called them what he called them. Because something is dramatically amiss. I think that one of the things that people should muse over in the entire Epstein situation, and perhaps this is the one that is kind of overlooked in all of this narrative about Epstein. He had the propensity to himself or to his sponsor, if there was one, he had the ability to blackmail people. If you were on that list, we can argue whether it exists or not, but if you were on that list, now, either he or his sponsor, the wizard behind the curtain that perhaps ran the whole thing, he could blackmail people who came to his island. And if he could blackmail them, in all likelihood, if they were politicians, he could control them. Because no politician would ever want to be associated publicly with going to an island of pedophilia and risking their career. I mean, it's beyond embarrassing. It's damning. That would be a career ender. So Jeffrey Epstein or his sponsor, Privy, held a lot of power over a lot of politicians. Now, I will say this. There have been many times over the past 10 years when I have looked at what Republican politicians, some of them, have done and heard their rationale for what they've done and what their opinion is, as well as a small amount of Democrats but predominantly the GOP people. And I remember shaking my head when they would come out and say these things, political opinions, like Vladimir Putin. They support the idea that Ukraine started the war. I want you to think long and hard about this. And this is a theory. If you want to call it a conspiracy theory, you can go ahead. But I'm going to tell you what I think. There are three amigos: Vladimir Putin, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Donald Trump. And I believe that there is a connection between Putin and Epstein and Epstein's Island and the influence that has been wielded upon several GOP politicians and a few Democrats as well. So what I would like to encourage everyone to do is not draw a conclusion from that, because we can't live our lives on these conspiracy theories. But I would ask and encourage people to just reflect a little bit on what they've seen over the last 10 years. And when you see things like in Donald Trump's first term, within the first 2 to 3 weeks, if I recall, he had taken the Obama sanctions off of the Russian FSB in terms of their access to buying computers. Now, any reasonable person would look at that, and this is fresh on the heels of Vladimir Putin invading a sovereign country, invading Ukraine. And I think most people who have a sober mind have a right to question why Donald Trump did that. And I think I'm just using that as one example. There are many, many examples where I was just astonished. And the chief one, of course, was these GOP politicians. Some of them were coming out and saying, "Yeah, Ukraine started the war." Who has what on you? That would be my question to the GOP politicians. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Give us a subscribe if you wish. My expectations on doing these YouTube videos is minor, but I'll be showing up and I'll be saying what I have to say. And I don't really care about the YouTube algorithm, to be honest with you, because I think it's important to say what needs to be said, and not what the algorithm wants to hear, or not how some people respond simply because they're in a cult. So if you're in a cult, you go ahead and put dislike in the click the dislike button. But if you support a balance in people's presentations, and if you can at least appreciate that someone is trying to make some sort of a contribution to the narrative that is somewhat positive and reasonable, then I ask people to subscribe. Anyways, you have a great weekend ahead, and we'll talk to you real soon. Ciao for now.